All right, ready to dive in. Today we're going to be talking about something that I think is pretty fascinating. Squirrel navigation.
Yeah, it's way more interesting than you might think.
Yeah, like we see squirrels all the time, right?
Hmm.
But we don't really think about what they're doing,
Right, right.
how they find their way around.
Yeah.
And that's what we're getting into today.
We're going to be looking at this study from 1984 by Jacques Beauvais. It's called Strategies of Homing Behavior in the Red Squirrel.
Okay, strategies of homing behavior
In the red squirrel.
in the red squirrel. So basically, like how do they get home
Exactly.
when they've been taken away from their territory? And this study is really cool because it doesn't just like say, oh, the squirrel got home or the
Yeah.
squirrel got lost.
Yeah.
It actually maps out their entire journey.
Yeah, they followed these squirrels. It's awesome. They
Wow.
followed these squirrels and they marked down every twist and turn.
So it's like they had a little squirrel GPS
Exactly.
way back in the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah. And what they found is that squirrels don't just immediately beeline straight back to their nest.
Right. If I was suddenly dropped in the middle of, I don't know, the woods somewhere,
Right.
I would not just be like, oh, I know exactly where I am and this is how I get home. I'd be like, wait a minute, where am I?
Yeah, you got to get your bearings first.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of what the squirrels were doing. They do something that Beauvais calls roaming.
Oh, my, roaming.
And so they just kind of hang out in the new area for a while.
So it's like a little, like a decompression period.
Yeah, like 39 minutes on average.
39 minutes. That's like a good coffee break.
Yeah. They just eat, groom, maybe take a nap.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
they really are taking some time. It's not just like random wandering.
Right. Seems very deliberate. And this is actually similar to what some other animals do, like dogs.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Wild boars.
Mm.
They all kind of need a moment to process things when they've been moved.
Okay. So it's like they're taking in all the information around them before they even decide like, okay, this is where I need to go.
Yeah, exactly. They're figuring out what's going on here.
Right. So after their little 39-minute coffee break and, they've de-stressed,
Right?
do they then decide, okay, it's time to go home?
Yeah, they take off, but here's the thing. They don't go towards home.
What?
Yeah, they all set off on this straight run, but it's not in the direction of home.
How is that possible?
Well, it turns out they all go in a direction about 144 degrees away from where they should be going.
144 degrees. So that's basically like
The opposite.
the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Are their compasses broken? Like, what's going on?
Well, the study ruled out landmarks as a factor. It doesn't seem like their compasses are broken.
Okay.
It's more like they're intentionally going in this weird direction.
On purpose.
Yeah, it seems like it, which is so weird, and we still don't know exactly why.
So are they sensing something we can't? Like,
Ah.
are they like using the Earth's magnetic field or something like that?
Yeah, that's one theory. It's possible they're sensing things we're not even aware of.
Okay, that is really interesting.
Yeah, but then after they go a certain distance, they do something even weirder.
Okay.
Most of the squirrels make a sharp U-turn.
A U-turn.
Yeah.
So they're going in the opposite direction.
Uh,
They go a certain distance, and then they're like, wait a minute.
yeah, like whoops, wrong way.
Yeah.
Time to head back.
Okay. So it's like they have this invisible fence in their minds.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Like this limit on how far they're comfortable going, which I totally get. Like if I'm exploring a new place,
Right.
I don't want to get too far away from where I know where I am.
Exactly.
So it's like they're saying, all right, I pushed it far enough. Time to turn back and make sure I don't get totally lost.
Right. And that's what Bavette suggests. He thinks this critical distance.
Yeah, the U-turn point.
Yeah, that U-turn point. He thinks that's probably linked to their natural exploratory range.
Okay.
They're used to going out from their home base, but they also don't want to get lost.
Right.
So they have this kind of built-in limit.
Okay, so this U-turn behavior makes sense in the context of like their everyday life.
Right.
But in this experiment, remember they were trying to get back to their actual home.
Exactly.
Not just back to like their favorite foraging spot or whatever.
Yeah. And that's where things get even more interesting.
Oh boy, this is already blowing my mind.
I know, right?
So where do we go from here?
We'll find out after the break. So we left off with these squirrels, right?
Okay.
Going the opposite direction, basically.
Yeah, 144 degrees the wrong way.
Yeah, hitting their critical distance, making a U-turn. You'd think that would make finding home even harder,
Yeah, you'd think they'd be hopelessly lost.
right? But here's the thing.
Okay.
A lot of them, they still found their way back.
Really? So they're not just blindly following this critical distance rule.
No, they're using it as a starting point, but they've got more tricks up their sleeves.
Okay, so what else are they using? Are they smelling something? I mean, what's going on?
Well, one of the coolest theories is that they might be using the Earth's magnetic field.
The Earth's magnetic field. Like, are you saying they have like a built-in compass?
Kind of, but even more sophisticated.
Okay, how does that work?
So, scientists believe that some animals, including rodents, have special cells. And these cells have tiny magnetic particles that actually align with the Earth's magnetic field.
Wow, so it's like they have little compasses inside their bodies.
Yeah, like microscopic compass needles.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that just tell them, like, north, south, east, west? How would they use that to figure out their exact home?
Right, that's where it gets even more mind-blowing.
Okay,
Some scientists think they might actually be using the magnetic field to create a mental map.
a mental map.
Yeah, so imagine if they could sense not just the direction, but also tiny variations in the magnetic field's strength
Right.
and angle in different locations.
So, like, each spot in their territory has a unique magnetic fingerprint.
Exactly.
Wow.
And by remembering those magnetic landmarks, they could build up a mental map that helps them navigate.
Okay, I'm not sure I'm totally buying this.
What do you mean?
Like, squirrels with mental maps? I mean, they're cute and all,
Uh,
but I don't know if I think of them as being like master cartographers.
I think we often underestimate animal intelligence.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially creatures we see all the time.
Right, right.
But, like, think about a squirrel's life.
Okay.
They have to remember where they've stashed thousands of nuts,
That's
navigate through the trees,
Yeah.
avoid predators. Like, that takes brain power.
Yeah, I guess you're right. They're doing a lot more than just like, running around looking cute.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe they can sense this magnetic field, but how do we know they're actually using it to find their way home?
Well, it's hard to prove for sure.
Yeah.
But remember how most of the squirrels took off in that weird 144-degree direction?
Uh-huh.
What if that specific bearing has some magnetic significance for them?
Oh, so like maybe that initial run is them kind of calibrating their internal compass.
Yeah, like lining themselves up with a familiar magnetic landmark.
Okay, that's interesting.
And then they can start searching for home.
Right.
But remember, it's probably not just the magnetic field. It's like a multi-sensory GPS system they're using.
Oh, this is getting good.
I know, right?
So what other clues are they using? I mean, could it be scent, sound? Are they psychic?
Okay, maybe not psychic.
Okay.
But there's another idea Bovit talks about, and this one's really wild.
Okay, hit me.
They might be remembering the journey they took to the release site.
Hold on. You're saying they're forming memories based on being, like, transported in a car?
Yeah, like they're mentally rewinding their steps. I know it sounds crazy,
It does sound a little crazy.
but there's actually evidence that animals, including rodents, can form spatial memories even when they're not the ones moving.
Okay, so, like, even if I'm in the passenger seat of a car,
Right.
I can kind of get a sense of the general route,
Exact.
even though I wasn't the one driving.
Yeah, you can remember if there are a lot of left turns, right turns, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true. But could a squirrel really remember enough to actually use that to get home?
Well, it might not have to be super detailed. Even a rough sense of the direction and distance could be helpful.
Okay, so like a mental breadcrumb trail.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got magnetic fields, maybe retracing their steps,
Yeah.
and probably even other cues we haven't even talked about.
Right. It's this amazing combination of things that makes up their homing abilities.
This is totally blowing my mind.
I know, it's so cool.
We think of squirrels as these simple creatures,
Right.
but there's so much going on in those little head.
Yeah, and speaking of those little heads, remember we talked about squirrel number 14 earlier?
Oh yeah, the one that had a huge home range.
Uh-huh. Traveled way farther than the others.
Yeah.
Well, guess what?
What?
He also traveled a lot farther before making his first U-turn in the experiment.
Ah, so our little marathon squirrel had a much bigger critical distance.
Exactly. It's like the more adventurous a squirrel is, the more confident they are going out into the unknown.
But even for the most adventurous squirrel, there are limits.
Yeah, and that actually brings up a kind of sad question.
Oh.
What about the squirrels that didn't make it home?
Yeah, what happened to them?
It's kind of sad to think about, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Like, they have all these amazing abilities,
Right.
but it doesn't always work out.
Yeah, the study actually mentions that there were a couple of squirrels that didn't make it back.
Oh.
Yeah, one actually drowned, and then another one, they think it probably got caught by a predator.
Oh, no. Yeah, and they were both found pretty far from the release site, so it seems like they might have wandered into some dangerous territory.
Yeah, I guess even with all their amazing navigation skills, They're still little animals in a big, dangerous world.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good reminder that homing isn't just about finding the fastest way back.
Right.
It's also about staying safe.
Right, like you don't want to take shortcuts if it means you're going to run into a predator.
Exactly, or get caught in a storm or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. So, I mean, what about the squirrels that didn't die but also didn't make it home?
Right.
Like, where do they go?
Well, there were a few that were actually spotted a couple of times after the release. And get this,
Okay.
they were usually heading in that same 144-degree direction.
Still, even when they were lost.
Yeah, it's like they were following this faulty compass that was leading them further and further away.
Wow, that's kind of eerie, isn't it?
It is kind of strange.
Yeah.
But where they ended up, no one really knows.
So, like, did they eventually find their way back? Did they set up new homes somewhere? What happened?
Yeah, it's a mystery. Some scientists think that maybe they established new home ranges in those areas.
Oh, so maybe they just kind of started over in a new place.
Yeah, it's possible.
It's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, it shows that while they have this strong homing instinct, they're also adaptable.
Right.
If they have to, they can make a new home somewhere else.
Wow, we've covered a lot today. We started with the simple question of how do squirrels get home? And we ended up talking about magnetic fields and invisible fences in their minds, and squirrels remembering car trips.
I know, right?
It's amazing. Who knew there was so much going on inside those little furry heads?
It just shows you that there's always more to learn, even about creatures we see every day.
Yeah, like, I'm never going to look at a squirrel the same way again. Next time I see one darting up a tree, I'm going to be like, wow, look at that little navigator go.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder what other amazing abilities are hidden in the animal kingdom just waiting for us to discover them.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into squirrel navigation.
It was my pleasure.
I think we can all agree that squirrels are way cooler than we thought. So keep your eyes open and stay curious because you never know what incredible things you might find right in your own backyard. Until next time, keep exploring.